Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Miller, and the SCP we're going to be looking at today is SCP-3114. Object Class: Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-3114 is held in a 3-meter by 7-meter enclosure surrounded by reinforced steel with impact glass windows for observation. A smaller 1-meter by 2-meter cell is attached to contain SCP-3114 when its enclosure needs to be entered for maintenance, enrichment, or inspection. When SCP-3114 needs to be moved from one section to another, a projection of a human subject will be displayed on a wall in the desired area. Once SCP-3114 attacks the projection, the door will be closed. No personnel are to enter SCP-3114's enclosure outside of approved testing procedures. Description: SCP-3114 is an inanimate human skeleton. It stands approximately 1.6 meters tall and weighs 30 kilograms. Though it has no articulation or connective tissue, its individual bones remain in place as they would in a human body. Individual bones can be pulled out of position, but quickly return to their correct position when there is no longer an outside force acting on them. Though SCP-3114 is made of similar materials as human bone, it is much denser and stronger, requiring more than 3 times as much force to break. A broken bone will mend, though it takes several weeks for a larger bone. There is no current explanation for SCP-3114's ability to move. Its observed range of motion in its joints are similar to a healthy adult female's. It is much stronger than a human of comparable size. It is able to lift at least 250 kilograms with one arm and has a measured grip strength of 270 kilograms. Its maximum observed foot speed is 60 kilometers per hour. SCP-3114 is able to react to visual stimuli with an apparent field of view similar to a human's. However, it does not react to sound or smell. It responds to touch, but it is difficult to test its sensitivity. SCP-3114 has made no attempts to communicate until recent events. See Entry 16 of the experiment log. It is extremely aggressive and immediately attempts to attack any time it sees a human or other biological humanoid, referred to as targets from here on. When it sees a potential target, SCP-3114 will take the quickest, most direct route it can, only avoiding obstacles it cannot push through. Once it reaches a target, it will latch on with its hands and begin squeezing around the throat. Once the target has stopped moving, SCP-3114 begins tearing openings in the target's body and pulling out its bones over the course of several hours. Once it has completely removed the target's skeleton, it will attempt to pull the remaining flesh over itself. This tears the flesh into multiple parts. Once the body is no longer in one large piece, it loses interest in it. When no target is present, SCP-3114 is fairly docile. It explores its enclosure but does not attempt to escape. SCP enrichment objects such as blocks, tires, cardboard boxes, and sticks are provided and replaced at regular intervals. When the lights are turned off for the night, SCP-3114 lays down and becomes motionless. Though it resembles sleep, it is still capable of responding to visual stimuli. Experiment Log Excerpts. Entry 3, D1724. A 120-kilogram adult male. Date redacted. D1724 attempted to run when he saw SCP-3114 approach. When it caught him, he attempted to fight back but was unable to do appreciable damage to SCP-3114. However, this did agitate SCP-3114 a great deal, and damage to the subject was greater than in other observed cases. SCP-3114 gave up removing the subject's bones partway through when it became clear the subject's body was not intact. The remains were placed in a corner. SCP-3114 placed several sticks and a cardboard box on top of the subject, as though burying him. Entry 5. Store mannequin, dressed as a Class D personnel. Date redacted. SCP-3114 ran to the subject as expected. However, it stopped several feet away. It stared at it for several minutes. then waved a hand in front of the subject's face. It seemed confused by the lack of facial features. It proceeded to touch the top of the head, tapping it several times before it finally carried it back to its enclosure, where it placed it in the corner. It mimicked its pose several times while standing next to it. It removed the mannequin's clothes and attempted to wear them. However, it was unable to operate the belt and could not keep the pants from falling. After several attempts, it appeared to grow frustrated. It removed the clothes, then threw them and the mannequin into a corner. Entry 6. Female Gorilla. Date redacted. SCP-3114 approached the subject but did not become aggressive until the subject stood up. SCP-3114 proceeded to engage in its typical behavior. However, the gorilla was able to break SCP-3114's left ulna before it expired. SCP-3114 was unable to fit itself into the subject's body, giving up after the body was no longer intact. It was buried in the corner, as with previous subjects. Entry 9. Male Border Collie. Date redacted. SCP-3114 approached the subject cautiously. It examined it with its fingers and seemed surprised when the dog licked it. It interacted with the dog for 2 hours, becoming visibly more excited. It appeared to be engaging in play behavior. It wrestled with the dog without harming it and threw sticks for it. At one point, the dog attempted to bite SCP-3114's lower left leg, at which point SCP-3114 struck it sharply, frightening the subject. However, neither appeared to have been seriously harmed, and both returned to their play. The subject was removed from the enclosure without incident. SCP-3114 stood at the exit for several hours after the subject was removed, striking the walls repeatedly. However, it did not use enough force to cause damage to its enclosure. Entry 13. Human Cadaver. Female, 55 kilograms, 2 days after death. Date redacted. SCP-3114 reacted as it would to a live human, including an attempt to crush its throat for several minutes, otherwise identical to tests with similarly sized live subjects. Entry 14. Human Skeleton, articulated for teaching. Date redacted. SCP-3114 approached the subject rapidly but did not attack. Instead, it examined the subject for several minutes, then began to prod it. When this elicited no response, it ran its hand along the top of the subject's head. It then carefully removed the subject from its stand and carried it back into its enclosure. It cradled the subject for several hours. It then put the subject in the same position it takes during sleep periods. Entry 16. Human Cadaver. Male, 145 kilograms, 1 hour after death. Date redacted. Subject reacted as in log entry 13. However, it was able to keep the body intact while it placed itself inside. It walked around its enclosure for an hour while wearing the subject. When the projection was shown to clean the enclosure, SCP-3114 did not attempt to attack the projection. Instead, it walked up to it and began to attempt interaction. D-4843, an adult male, was placed in the enclosure. When SCP-3114 approached, he attempted to escape. SCP-3114 grabbed him but did so gently. It continued to try interacting with him, taking his hand and placing it on its face, trying to ape his movements and embracing him. He reacted negatively to all interactions. After 3 hours, D-4843 was removed from the enclosure. SCP-3114 waited for several minutes at the door. Then it tore the subject off of itself. It kicked the remains into a corner, then laid down next to the subject of Entry 14. It did not move for 3 days, at which point it resumed its normal behavior. Well, on that kind of sad note, this concludes today's lecture. Thank you for listening, if indeed you still are, and you are all dismissed. Goodbye. I would like to give a special thank you to Zargaran, O'Crop Guy, Rowan O'Brien, Ordos Malleus, James Saba, Hello, Lost Boy, Your Local Foundation Agent, Zazapan, Cupster, Dean Dingus, Braided Peach, Sotto Voce, Oscuro Vision, Simon the Skink, Wiz, Dr. Andrew Turner, Grimnir, Yatamaru Shizuka, Extra Moments 123, Fretful, Swift Raw, Ferret Man, Certified Forklift Technician, and Alex Evett. If you would like a special thank you at the end of each of my videos, and some other cool stuff as well, visit patreon.com/TheVolgun. Thank you.